Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the next episode of This is Life. It's your boy, your host, Brandon Harrison, and this is a faith-based encouragement podcast to help you navigate through life. And we are in a special series called Black Perspective, where I get to talk to some amazing Black people and hopefully inspire or inform some who don't really know or understand the depth and the diversity of Black perspective. And today I have a friend. It sounds old, but I've known this guy for 15 years. We were some young freshmen coming into STSU, and now he is an accomplished counselor. He has got his master's degree, just so much impact, started a nonprofit, and he's just an amazing young Black man like me trying to make it in this world, but he's making a huge impact, and this is Mike Love. Mike, do a better introduction than that. Tell people who you are, what you're all about, and kind of how you got to the amazing platform that you're at now.
Well, to start, I want to thank you, Brandon, for inviting me to the space to share my story. Like you said, 15 years in the making, having the chance to meet you in 2005 when we started as freshmen. And you're absolutely a brother that I've always respected just because I see what you're about and what you've done. And it's always been positive. You've always been a solid brother. So I'm definitely thankful for the opportunity to come and share that with you. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
My own story. Growing up in San Diego, originally from New Jersey, moved out to San Diego when I was a kid. So SoCal pretty much my entire life. What I realized is that education is not something that we push enough. So I think growing up, everybody wants to find that one thing that they're good at, that one thing that you can say, okay, this is something I'm good at, and this is something I can see myself doing moving forward.
Right.
And I remember for me in our age group, it was sports, or you was trying to be a rapper.
Right.
Wasn't any between those. It was like, well, damn, I don't really have any other options. I like school. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed reading. So I figured pretty early that was something that was going to get me out of where I was to, where I wanted to be. I moved around a lot as a kid. I remember getting into middle school, moved into Meadowbrook Apartments. And that was one of the spaces, one of those areas that being there, it gave you I felt like it gave me sort of a little clout.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't gangbanging, but when you say I live here, it's like, oh. And I had individuals, and it was crazy. I had individuals my age who I went to school with who was really about that life. And I always tell my students this, it's always a couple people who will look out for you. And I had a couple people like that who was, Mike Love ain't about that. He about school, he about basketball. So they would make sure I wasn't around none of that. I had a couple of them like save me from getting beat up a couple times. So it was like, I needed that. But for me, it was like, yeah, this is not what I want. I need to do something different. So that was education. Did San Diego State. I ended up getting there straight out of high school and changing my major quite a few times, not really knowing what I wanted to do. Ended up finishing with political science as my bachelor's degree and had no idea what the hell I wanted to do with that.
Right.
I took a job at the EOP office at San Diego State, and the counselors there, they took a liking to me. They were telling me about a master's program that I ended up applying for, and it truly changed my life. It was the community-based block program, the CBB program at San Diego State, which was geared towards multicultural counseling with an emphasis in social justice and multicultural counseling education.
Wow.
So I got into it, and I had to do therapy sessions while I got into it. And I'm 22 years old, one of the youngest people in my cohort, and it was crazy. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, but it was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So finished the program, and my first foray, I tell students this all the time, life is a marathon, and it will truly zigzag. It's never a straight path. So I remember getting the master's degree and being 23 and being on unemployment for 6 months. I have the degree and I have no experience. So the jobs that I wanted, I have the degree, but I don't have the experience. The jobs that I didn't want, I'm overqualified for.
Right.
So I remember like depression had set in for me at that time. I had my degrees on the wall, and I took them off the wall and stuck them under my bed. Like I did all the work for this and I can't even.
Wow.
So ended up getting a job at a for-profit college, and they ended up having a mass layoff and letting go like 450 people, and that led me into a segue to get into the community college district, and that's where I've been since. It's definitely where I feel I've been able to make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
For me, not having a community college experience, went straight to the university, but I definitely feel that what I'm able to do with the students I'm working with is it's an impact. I feel like I'm able to reach some students and hopefully make their transition from high school to college, and hopefully from college to the university a more seamless transition.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. And just hearing that whole flow, I didn't know some of that. That's crazy that you went through all that. And like you said, I always saw you like our first class we had together. I was like, man, this dude is so eloquent and just smart and hardworking. But I did one of the interviews with Dr. Paul Menifee, and I was telling him like he was one of my only Black male professors and even teachers, like K through 12. I had Black female teachers, but he was like one of the only ones, and he really inspired me. And how have you navigated? Because I'm sure as a Black male counselor, I don't remember many. So how have you navigated being probably one of a few during the different spaces you've been in, like say EOP or different community colleges? How has that been being one of the few?
I knew what the experience was, just in the sense of my own educational experience. I didn't have my first Black male teacher until 10th grade. And it's funny, he's still my mentor to this day. We have the same name, Michael Love. He was an amazing educator who just recently retired this past year. But I didn't have him until the 10th grade. And he always stuck with me because I truly felt he cared about me as a person,
Right.
not just a student, as a person. And when I started getting into spaces where I was teaching and counseling, I was like, that's what I want to put out. That's the energy I want to put out. I want to know you as a person and not just a student. It's definitely been interesting. I think being in San Diego for most of my life, in Southern California, at this point right now, I'm in the Inland Empire. You realize that the area is very diverse, and Black people are not anywhere in the numbers that we would want them to be.
Okay.
In the sense of seeing them enough so as I'm more comfortable in these spaces. I'm not the only one, because you're absolutely right. I've been the only Black male counselor in I think 3 of the 4 community colleges that I've worked at when I started working there.
Wow.
The community college I'm at right now, one of my colleagues, she told me when I got there, she was like, yeah, you're the 5th full-time counselor that the college has hired in their history.
What?
Now the college is 105, 106 years, something like that.
Are you serious?
The 5th full-time tenure track counselor that they've hired in 100 some odd years. So yeah, I know what that feels like, and it can be alienating in some points, because whenever issues of race or issues of Blackness come up, they're always looking at you for the entire race.
Right.
Learning and growing me. I can't speak for all of us.
Exactly.
But one thing I do say that, especially being able to be full-time tenure track in the institution I'm at now, have to be able to be sitting at the tables.
Yes.
As I've gotten older, especially in the community college system or any university system, you understand that politics run the way that the college runs.
Yep.
So understanding different committees, different leadership abilities, different areas that you can get into that are really making moves for the college that are a little bit behind the scenes. So I feel like being one of the only ones, understanding it doesn't always feel good, never feels good. I would always want to see more of us there, but I know that I need to be there because there's information that if I wasn't at the table that some of us wouldn't have.
Wow.
So I think that's the part that continues to motivate me, because I know that if I'm not at the table, then that's one less of us, and we already know it's not a whole lot of us to start off with.
Yep, that is so true. Now, that's so true. Now, the reason I'm doing this is for 2 reasons: to inform people and to inspire. So you informed a lot. That was powerful. I didn't know a lot of that. Now, to inspire somebody who looks like us, even if it's a woman, like a black woman, a black male that wants to do something like you're doing, what do you say to them? Like, how do they go about this, and what does it take to get to your level?
Just the drive and the want. I would say there's two things that I've done just in what I've been able to accomplish in my professional life that stick out to me. One being the creation of my Tide donation drive, the other being the creation of my nonprofit with my best friend, where We Will Rise. I'll speak on the Tide drive because that was a little bit more encompassing of all individuals. I'm known on my college campus or the colleges that I worked on as a tie guy. Understanding that being a young black professional who looks like I look, I kept my dreads long specifically for this because that was
Nice.
I ended up having to cut them before to get a job, and then got the job, and crazy. So to be authentically myself is truly important. But I would say with the Tide drive, what the story behind that, I had a student who was working in the EOPS office at the college that I was at. She was an older sister. She had a couple of students there. She was working and really putting in the work, really grinding, but I can tell she was struggling some. And to me, and she said, "Mr. Love, I see that you always wear a tie every day. Can you teach me how to tie a tie, because my son is in a church event this weekend and I don't know how to tie it?" And I'm like, hell yeah. I got excited. I took off my tie and I showed her how to do 2 or 3 of them, and she lit up. And I went home that day. It was like, I did something good for the day. That felt good.
Right.
She came back that next week and she showed me pictures of her phone of her son and her little cousin who she was able to tie ties for. And just the way that she described it and showed the pictures, like, she lit up. And I was like, damn, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is I was teaching one of the guidance courses at the college for our CARE students, which is a program for students who are receiving aid from the state. So I'm teaching the class, and I came, and the student that I helped with the tie, she was in the class. So I came to the class that next day and I asked them, what would you guys think about me creating a tie drive, like a donation drive, where I can get ties donated from the campus and then donate them to you guys to show you how to teach, how to tie them.
Wow.
And the class was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. I'm like, okay, cool, I can do that. So the class ended that day and the student walked out. She came back 5 minutes later after I was erasing the board, and she had shades on. And she started crying. And she said, "Professor Love, I want to thank you, because most other professors and counselors don't think about our sons like you did."
Wow.
My heart dropped. And I was like, because that was my experience. My mom taught me how to tie a tie when I was 16. My father being around. So she would tie it in the mirror and then take it off and then put it on me. And that's how I learned. So it's small things like that you may not realize how important they are until you actually need it. So I've been able to take that tie drive. The first year, I promoted it on Facebook for 2 weeks and got 62 ties donated. Took that back to the class and had 2 events where I taught the students how to tie ties.
Wow.
I've been running this for 7 years now. I was able to bring it to 3 of the community colleges I worked at in San Diego. I took it to San Diego State for an event. I've taken it to a couple universities. I brought it up here in the Inland Empire. I've been able to end the Young Men's Youth Leadership Conference with the Tide drive for the last 7 years.
Wow.
So to that point, someone who's interested in it, what I tell students and people all the time is that I feel like our goal in life is to find our passion.
Yeah.
And once you find what your passion is, your goal is to give it to the world. Find a way to give it to the world.
Man.
So that was one way, or something that was important or impactful to me. And it was just like, how can I find a way to give it away?
Yeah.
So to me, it's finding what that passion is.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say with the nonprofit organization that my best friend and I created, We Will Rise. what we thought about, we don't talk enough. So having a best friend, and everybody got that one or two best friends that you can really talk to.
Right.
And I feel like it's different for men and women.
It is.
I feel like women talk more and they can talk about everything.
Yep.
But what I realized with men, specifically brothers, it's if it's not about women or sports or music,
yep.
surface.
Yep.
So going through my master's program, my best friend Gary, he was really important for me because I was able to unpack some of the things that I was going through as far as going through therapy and whatnot. And it was like, okay, well, we need to have conversations outside of the basic surface stuff.
Yep.
So I had an activity in my class where I invited him. It was a fishbowl activity where I had the men in the class in a circle and the women in the class in a larger circle outside of the men, but the women couldn't talk.
Mm.
And in the fishbowl with the brother and the men, we had a conversation about what it meant to be a man in the 21st century.
Mm.
And to hear some of the conversation, some of the things that they brought out was like, wow, I didn't even realize that you were going through this.
Right.
So the next class, we flipped it. So I had the women in my class in the inner circle and then the men on the outer circle, and the men just had to listen. They couldn't talk. And it was flipped. We had a conversation about what it meant to be a woman in the 21st century. And again, the topics that were brought up was like, whoa. Like I know understanding everybody's experience and situation is going to be different, but I know I've been through some stuff.
Right.
Whereas I'm like, I remember my grandfather always telling me, he said, if you take your 5 closest friends and you put y'all all put your problems out on the table, he said you would fight to get your own problems back.
Wow.
Like they were going through some things. I was like, okay, we need to like break this down because I can't just let you leave out this class.
Right.
Here. But out of that experience, myself and me and my bro Gary was like, we need to do something, create something where we can have a space as Black men where we can have these conversations.
Mm.
Because really what happens is we don't talk and we continue to eat those things that we feel. And then when we can't more, we explode. And that's where that angry Black male syndrome comes in.
Wow.
Which really isn't a syndrome. It's we don't have an opportunity to release the things that we feel. So I think that, and again, that just came from us realizing that, hey, there's a space that we need that we don't have. So how can we do something to create that space? And to be honest, it didn't take any money at all. We picked a date, we promoted it on Facebook, we picked a location, and it was cool because the location that we're working at or having our meetings at before the COVID situation, Paradise Valley Rec, which we grew up in that area. Right. So it was cool to have it somewhere where this is something that's impactful, somewhere that's impactful to us.
Yeah.
It didn't cost us anything. We went and talked to the management and told them what we wanted to do. And that was like, cool, no problem. So we promoted it. I think the first time we had the meeting, it was like 6 or 7 guys. The second meeting, it was like 12, 13. Our last meeting was meeting 39. So we have a meeting once a month, and we've been doing this for almost 3.5 years. And I talk to Gary all the time about it and about creating something. And it didn't take any money. It just took seeing something that we wanted to see and then finally picking a date. Like, we're going to do it on this day.
Right.
And if cool, if it doesn't work, well, we tried something. So I think that would be the message to someone who was interested in creating something or interested in inspiring or motivating someone but didn't know how to get started. Find out what your passion is and then start. Have a start in mind. And I think that's the biggest thing. How do I get started? Sometimes you just have to put the first foot forward and try it out.
Man, you just inspired me, for real. I'm serious. That's powerful. And everything that you keep talking about, I just keep hearing, I have always inspired by your consistency. Like you were saying, just finishing your bachelor's, finishing your master's, and actually applying for these jobs. And just if you're getting rejected, you're still applying and going after these career moves that you're doing and starting nonprofits. Like, I just see your consistency in 7 years of the Tide Drive. It's like, that's amazing. And that's something that I definitely feel, like you said, as we as Black community, we do get discouraged of like, oh man, I don't know where to start. Or I don't know, like you said, resources or connections. And we're just like, I can't fix everything, so I'm not going to try anything. But it's so smart to, you said, just find your passion and try it. And there's so many, especially in this time, I'm seeing people are really trying to support each other. And it's so important, like you said, just, hey, this is in my heart and I got to give it to the world and see what happens with it. And that's what I love about you. Like, you just don't stop. You do that. And I just want to close this with, if you can share how people can support you continually, whether it's Tide Drive or We Will Rise or financially, anyway, because you're doing so much good work. And I just want people to hear how they can find more about you and keep supporting you.
Well, to that point, I will say that the role models that we choose are so vitally important. And what I realize in our community is the egos are so big. And
Yeah.
I'm human. I have ego as well. I want to be recognized for the things that I do. But the role models that I have, and this always goes back to my mentor, Mr. Love, who I've watched him grow since I've been in high school and as an adult. It's never been about the ego with him. It's always been about the mission.
That's powerful.
So to me, as someone young, trying to be a young professional and trying to leave my mark on the world, it's understanding the ego that we all have, but being humble about it. Because truly, when I pass on and I leave, it's what I left.
Yep.
It's not going to be, oh, he's still here, or it's truly what you leave behind. It's not the name, because the names are going to change, but it's the legacy. So keeping the mission in mind, I feel, is what's keep me motivated and humble. To the second point, I mean, you can always, I think people can always contact me. Social media, I'm on Facebook, Michael Love. Also on my Instagram, We Will Rise has an Instagram page, my nonprofit, We Will Rise SD. So you can definitely catch me on Instagram there. I take Tide donations all year round. I've been running my Tide drives for the last 7 years. I take those all year round. People can contact me through social media for that. Also through Cash App as well. My Cash App is Jerzaleo, Jerzeleo. Definitely take donations all year round for that. And being able to continue the mission, being able to continue the drive of trying to just continue to do something. And I think that's one thing that we have in the community is never understanding what enough is. And I know that I can't do everything, but I can do something. And I think that's the most important part. We can all do something.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time so much. This has been inspiring and just encouraging to me. So that's the whole point of this, is to inspire some, inform others. They just don't even know all the amazing work that so many Black people in San Diego are doing, and all over Southern California in different spheres. So that's my goal, is to get different education, some athletes, entertainers, and pastors and community leaders, politicians, and just hear there's so much to the Black perspective. And there's just so much work and amazing things, amazing people like you. So I appreciate you, man, so much. And
that's a piece that I feel like, I think that was a piece that I feel like I was not as informed on myself. I didn't realize that we were as diverse in San Diego, truly. And I grew up there my whole life. I talk about that in We Will Rise. Our group is not just educators. We have entrepreneurs, we have authors, we have financial advisors, we have ex-military. But seeing so many diverse perspectives, it's like, oh, I didn't even know that our Black men in San Diego were that diverse. I'm thinking it's one or two or three, and it's not. So I think having those diverse perspectives is going to give everyone a different idea of what we are and what we can be. So definitely appreciative of, being able to be here and just express how I feel, and also my background and my story as well.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to This Is Life, and this is Black Perspective. I appreciate y'all, and keep on tuning in. We're going to keep on sharing some powerful stories.